What is up, everyone? Welcome back to your Phillies game recap, game 2 of the young season. The Phillies fall to the Texas Rangers 16-3. We're going to talk about it all. Phillies, like I said, had the worst run differential in the league through the first 2 games of the season at a -17. Josh Harrison gets on the bump yesterday in the 9th inning. He is the first position player to pitch this season for any team across the majors. So not a very good start to this young Phillies campaign. We're going to talk about Zach Wheeler. We're going to talk about the bullpen. We're going to talk about the lineup. I'll give you our best bets recap from yesterday. Not a great day overall, but let's start with this. Let's start with the obvious. And let's just get the complaining out of the way. CB Buckner, CB Buckner, the home plate umpire yesterday, was a problem from the opening jump. And normally I don't like to complain about officiating, and I want to preface what I'm about to say and this long rant by saying he is not the reason the Phillies lost this game. He is not the main reason. He's not even the sole reason that they lost this game, right? But there's a lack of accountability across officiating, across all major sports, across collegiate sports. So let's talk about this. Nick Castellanos, second inning, I believe, finally lays off of a slider low and away. What's he get for it? Rung up. This pitch is about 3 inches off the plate, below the knees, just not even in the realm of possibility of being called a strike. That would have let off the inning with a base runner to start the second inning. Phillies were down 2-0 at that point, right? No, he gets rung up, kind of puts a sour taste to the rest of this inning. Then Brandon Marsh, not once, but twice gets rung up by CB Buckner for a called strike 3 on 2 pitches that were just not even, like I said with Nick, these 2 were way worse. First, Marsh gets punched out while I forget who was it Jake Cave? Somebody's trying to steal second base. No outs, 4 feet above home plate. He gets rung up. The broadcast they don't even show the replay. They don't look at it, nothing. He gets rung up. It would have started the inning with runners on first and second, nobody out. Gets rung up there. Then later on in the game, I believe the next inning or 2 innings later, Marsh, runners on second and third, 2 outs, full count, gets rung up on a pitch that is almost inside his batter's box, that he almost has to duck and bend out of the way of, and he ends the inning with a called third strike. Would have put bases loaded for Trey Turner coming up to bat. Now, if Trey Turner contributes, I do not know at that point, but CB Buckner was a problem. And to top it off, not only did he screw the Phillies hitters, in the inning that the wheels really fell off and Wheeler was ultimately pulled from the game, he calls what should have been a third strike for Zach Wheeler, a ball, and then the inning escalated after that. And this one was not on the corner, not on the outside of the box, right? No, this was right down the middle, 4-seam fastball, no movement to it. He calls it a ball. Inning escalates after that. We know what happens there. Now, like I said in the beginning, none of that is the sole or main reason the Phillies lost this game. But remember, this was a 4-3 ball game at the time he allowed things at that time, and he allowed things to get out of hand. He had an overall favor of a plus 2.63 runs in the direction of the Texas Rangers. That just can never happen. My main issue with this, and to wrap up this quick little rant here, is 2 things. A, like I said in the beginning, no responsibility for officials. If you argue too much, you're showing them up, you're ejected, you're tossed from the game. You can't do your job for the rest of that day. If a coach or a manager or a player speaks poorly about them to the media or to the fans or on social media after that game, they are fined thousands and thousands of dollars. That hurts them, right? This dude just gets to go on with his daily routine. He gets to keep living life. He keeps getting to call games as much and as poorly as he wants to. There is no responsibility, no accountability towards these umpires, towards these officials nowadays, and it really hurts the product. B, it makes the product tough to watch. I don't really know what side of the line I fall on in terms of robo-umps, right? There's the big argument of robo-umps would not only help what you saw yesterday, but it would take away the human element, right? But that human element affected this game so badly, not only from a viewership standpoint, but from a competitive standpoint as well. He ultimately took the bats out of the Phillies' hands yesterday. He took a competitive advantage away from them and shifted it in the direction of the Texas Rangers, and it allowed that game to get out of hand. You make all these rule changes. You implement all these rule changes this year. You got the pitch clock to speed the game up. That's human element. No, the player pitch clock, bigger bases, banning of the shift, human element. No, it's a defensive advantage, right? Scheme, all that kind of stuff. Take that away from teams. Take that away from defenses. You take all of these things away, but yet you can't deploy robo-umps because it would take away a human element. And you still employ guys like CB Buckner to continue to do a piss poor job on a night-to-night basis. And it would be one thing if this was the first time I or we have heard of CB Buckner. He's right up there with the Angel Hernandez call last year where Kyle Schwarber was ejected. Like this game yesterday could have been worse than that Schwarber ejection against Milwaukee on Sunday Night Baseball of last season. It really could have. Now, let's get to the real problems, because I'm not going to complain and bitch and moan about officiating for the next 10 to 15 minutes with you guys. It is clear through the first two games that the Phillies have a pitching problem. Early on, they have given up 27 runs through the first two games of this young season. It started with Nola and Soto on opening day, and it trickled on down to Zach Wheeler and Sir Anthony Dominguez and Jose Alvarado, your late inning guys, yesterday. I'll start by saying this. I'm not trying to make excuses. What we witnessed yesterday and what we witnessed on the collapse of a 5-0 lead against Jacob deGrom on opening day was hard to watch. And it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, because this opening weekend, it means more than a random weekend in May, right? The games equal the same, right? Those wins, those losses, they contribute to the same thing, but it feels more important now because it's so new and it's back and you want them to get off to a quick start. I don't know if it's the new pitch clock. I don't know if it's getting used to it and being conditioned for it. Nola made some comments that, the game feels so sped up. JT made comments behind home plate that he found himself out of breath at times. It doesn't seem to be affecting every other team in the majors, maybe some, but I don't know if it's lack of work in spring training. I don't know what it is, but so far, these first two games from your two aces, from this 1-2 punch of Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, have been the main culprits of why the Phillies have started the season 0-2. However, with all of that said, I'm not concerned. Again, not trying to make excuses, not trying to act like everything is sunshine and rainbows and the grass will be greener. I'm not concerned about these two, man, and it's already happening. Twitter, Facebook groups, everything, people ranting and raving, and the sky is falling in Philadelphia through two games. This ain't the Sixers. Hell, the Sixers, it would be way too early to start getting like this. That's 82 games, 162 game season, and people are already acting like it's doomsday. Like this is the product. My initial thought process through these two games is Wheeler and Nola are coming off a short offseason, getting used to a pitch clock, didn't get a ton of work in the spring, and they'll be fine. I think you're going to look back on these two games in a month, 2 months from now, and we're going to laugh. We're going to laugh when Zach Wheeler has an 8-3 record with a sub 2.7 ERA. We're going to laugh when Aaron Nola is at the top of innings pitched and leading the league in strikeouts again in 2 months. So while it sucks in the moment, while sure, you and I'm criticizing them right now. You have the right to criticize, but do not take that criticism and expand it to a totality form, in totality, right? Like this is not what you're going to get going forward, in my opinion. Now let's talk about the offense. Only put up 3 runs They had 9 hits. They had 3 walks, 12 base runners again. So back-to-back games to start the season with double-digit base runners. They've scored 10 runs through the first 2 games. The offense has not been the problem. Again, not trying to make excuses for yesterday when you only score 3 runs, whether it's 16 or whether it's 5. You're going to have a difficult time winning. However, I do look at this game the same way I kind of looked at it on opening day, with just having the win taken right out of your sails. Like on opening day, your ace, your opening day starter, blows a 5-0 lead that you had built against the game's best pitcher. That's deflating. That sucks all the energy out of the dugout. That sucks all belief that we're going to win today. Now you go to yesterday. Your real ace, Zach Wheeler, allows 2 runs in the first inning. He gives up a solo home run to Marcus Semien to open up the game. You battle back. You make it a 1-run game. You're not only battling CB Buckner, who I've already talked about, but then Zach Wheeler and the rest of your staff let the lead build back up to a 4+ game. It was 7-3, then it was 10-3, then it was 13-3, and then ultimately you got to 16-3. So once it gets to that point where you're already dealing with so much, you're at a disadvantage to start the game. It feels like the bat's being taken out of your hands, and yet it's still 4-3. Just get me to that next inning. Let me see what I can do. It's a 7-3 ball game. Now, is the game over 7-3 in the 5th inning? No, it's not over, but I promise you it's deflating as all hell. I promise you it takes the wind right out of their sails. So far to me, I think the lineup has been, it was great on opening day. I think, it was just, they were fighting from being down the entire time, and you can only do that for so long. You can only battle back and try to dig yourself out of that hole for so long. Trey Turner triples again. Nick Castellanos looks good again. There's positives coming out of this lineup that's still missing your MVP and Bryce Harper. So for that reason alone, I have optimism in this Phillies team and in this Phillies lineup, and they look to bounce back tonight on Sunday Night Baseball, hopefully to not get swept to start the season. Bailey Falter on the mound versus Martin Perez, who has given the Phillies some trouble in the past. But like I said, this is a new look Phillies lineup. I'll be interested to see when I do the pregame breakdown how much work these guys have gotten against Martin Perez and how much of an advantage he or they may have. But yeah, guys, I'm going to keep it short and sweet on this one. There's really no positives to talk about. The lineup who I just gave a pass to on this one, there's no real positives. There's nothing that stood out, right? Schwarber didn't hit 2 home runs, and he's in his groove. They were good. They were okay in the beginning, and then, a lack of energy because your team lets up 16 runs. That is the bottom line. Before I get to our best bets recap, which will be a new segment here on the game recap, Scotty and I, or George and I, whoever's hosting the pregame show, will give you 3 best bets for that Phillies game that night, and then I will break it down the next night for you. I just want to wrap up by saying this. I really hope this didn't come off as making excuses and sounding like what happened yesterday was okay, or, that there's not any negatives or some worry, right? For not just in the starting staff with Wheeler and Nola, the bullpen, who had those question marks from a lot of people. I talked to Paul Hembekitis 2 days before opening day, and he shared the sentiment. This bullpen scares him. Gregory Soto lacks command. He's Jose Alvarado 2.0. Alvarado got mucked up yesterday. Sir Anthony couldn't record an out, got messed up yesterday. I'm more patient and more confident in the top 2 guys, obviously in Wheeler and Nola, to bounce back and get things going in their next start than I am in this bullpen. But I still I'm not gonna let the first outing for these guys define what is to come this season. Like, here's my point about remaining relaxed and not overreacting to every single game, to every single moment, at bat, pitch, etc. 2 years ago, the Phillies started 3-0. Swept the Atlanta Braves, who won the World Series that year. Atlanta Braves started 0-3 that year. Atlanta Braves were sub 500 or 500 at the trade deadline that year. Phillies didn't make the playoffs. Last year, Phillies start 2-1 against the Oakland Athletics. They start 2-0, and then they lose the Sunday game at home in the afternoon, right? Phillies only won 87. Like, things happen early on in the season, and you cannot allow the first two outings to change your overall opinion on this team. If you came into the season and you thought that you were going to see a decline in this team, you thought you were going to see a drop off in this team, that's fair. That's fine. And maybe right now through these two early games, you're like, see, this is kind of what I was talking about. But if you were high on this team and you are just being a depressed Philadelphia fan, whoa, it's me. We lost 3 straight championships. No one can stay healthy. We can't do anything right. Relax. Pump the brakes. They will be fine. And I'll give you a little spoiler alert for tonight's pregame show. The Philadelphia Phillies will win game 3 of this season tonight on Sunday Night Baseball. With that said, let's get into the best bets recap from yesterday's ball game. Phillies, Rangers. Obviously, we start things off at the top of the list. Phillies money line. Scotty and I came together to make this list. We kind of thought that the Phillies would bounce back. Wheeler on the mound against Nathan Eovaldi. We thought we would get a strong outing. Obviously, that went sour straight from the jump. No to the Phillies money line. Next, team total. It looked great, right? He had 3 runs through the first 3 or 4 innings. I needed one more in this long, drawn-out route by the Texas Rangers. It could have 60. You could have given me 16-4. Hell, you could have given me 30-4. Phillies could not come through with one more run. Like I said, the energy, how deflating that must have felt, the meltdown. They just fought from behind from the first inning on, and they just didn't have anything left in the tank, I guess. So Phillies team total, thumbs down. But this man at the bottom of our screen, as you can see, our season record heading into this one was 1-2. So we are now 2-4. Not a great start. Not a great start for us. Not a great start for the Phillies, right? But the 2 in that 2-4 is the man that has the green check mark next to his name. Trey Turner over 1.5 bases. That cashed for us yesterday. It cashed on opening day. Obviously, when he has a triple in each, that is going to cash each and every time. And the interesting part about Trey is you're looking at trends, and obviously there's going to be nights where he doesn't get a hit, or he's 1 for 4 with a single, or 1 for 5 with a single and a walk, and he's not going to get those 2+ bases for you. However, he's interesting to me tonight and moving forward, because although he's hit and cashed in the first 2 games, and they're triples, they're pretty big time plays, he hasn't found his groove yet early on in the season, right? So I'm expecting you're just waiting for that to come out and burst out of Trey Turner. Maybe that happens tomorrow. Maybe it happens, in 3 days from now, 3 games from now. I do not know, but Trey Turner 2+ bases seems to be a pretty healthy bet to cash on a pretty consistent occasion, I would say. So that is the best bets recap for game 2 of the Phillies season. Guys, that is going to wrap up this Phillies game recap number 2 out of 162. Don't forget, it is brought to you by DSM Media. If you're new to the channel, make sure to check us out on Twitter first at DSM_media. Hit that follow button. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. While you're over on the channel, on the Twitter page, make sure to check out the link tree. It's in our bio. It'll take you to every social media platform we are available on. If you guys want to be interactive throughout any of our shows, specifically the pregame lives, they stream exclusively on the YouTube channel. So you have to be subscribed, turn on notifications for whenever we go live. And like I said, it is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up and be interactive with us on each and every one of our shows. For myself, you can find me on Twitter at DylanJD98, as you can see on your screen. That is going to do it for Phillies game recap number 2. Come hang out with myself and Scotty and possibly George Ryder here at DSM Media tonight around 5:30 to get you ready for not only this Phillies game 3 of the season, but Sixers Bucks, where you are going to do a big time pregame show and do both in one and have some fun with it. So like I said, for myself, check me out on Twitter, DSM, subscribe to the YouTube, and have a great rest of your Sunday.